my God! Oh. Whoa!
That was radical, dude!
It was! You know what else is radical?
What?
Being able to diagnose a cylinder misfire in your car.
I don't know how to do that!
Well, lucky for you, I do. So the first thing you can do to tell if your car has a cylinder misfire without even opening up the hood is to see if you have a flashing check engine light. And that is the only time your check engine light will flash. So let's go inside the car and see if this car has that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start this car up and see if it has a flashing check engine light. See, just like that. So we got the check engine light to flash, like I said. Now we're going to get a code reader. So, and the reason we're using the code reader to identify the misfire is because flashing check engine light, yeah, that lets you know you have a misfire, but you have no idea which cylinder it is. And that's what we're using this for, to find out which cylinder is misfiring. For most auto manufacturers, a code that starts with P03 is a misfire. And a 00 after that is just a generic misfire code. Random or multiple cylinder misfire detected. Cylinder 3 misfire detected. Now if you notice up here, the 00 switched to 01. What that's doing is that's telling you which cylinder is misfiring, because if you notice the code, it says cylinder 1 misfire detected. And then here for cylinder 3 misfire, it's 03. So the reason there's a 0 in front of it is if you are diagnosing a V10 or a V12 engine, there needs to be 2 digits so it can tell you exactly which cylinder is misfiring. So step number 2 is to pull out your spark plugs and check the quality of them. We are going to pull out the spark plugs in cylinder 2 and 3 because we have a misfire in 3 but not in 2, and we're going to compare them. Also keep in mind, if your engine was just running, everything's going to be hot. So make sure to have something to protect your hands when grabbing this if your engine was just running, like gloves, a towel, or gloves. So when removing coil packs, make sure to remember which coil packs go to which cylinders, because the coil packs wear along with the spark plugs. And if the spark plugs are old and you swap around the coil packs, you could cause a second misfire. All right, so we have the 2 spark plugs. This one is from cylinder 2, and this one is from cylinder 3. As you can tell, this one's all black.
Why is it all black? What happened?
Well, we're gonna find out.
Oh, geez.
Oh, geez. So I'm putting it up on screen. This is what another type of bad spark plug looks like. Because out of the 2 I showed you, the black one, a black spark plug just means that there's excess fuel in the cylinder. This is what like an actual like damaged or bad spark plug can look like.
You can have a lot of corrosion on there, or the little silver tip, the really fine little pin tip can be worn away, and kind of, you can just tell that it's not as long as it's supposed to be. Or the porcelain itself that holds that tip in place can be cracked. I've seen that too. So,
as shown right here.
Yeah, just show them all of the bad spark plug PNGs right here.
There's so many! So an easy way to tell if it's the spark plug causing the misfire is to take the 2 spark plugs you took out and swap them. Swap their cylinder positions. And then what you do, you take the code reader, clear the codes, and then you see which code comes back. The code that came out was P0303, meaning it was cylinder 3. So if we swap the spark plugs and P0302 comes out, we know it's the spark plug causing the issue. And you can do the same test with your coil packs to see if your coil packs are bad. You can swap the coil packs but leave the spark plugs the same to test the coil packs. All right, so we swapped out the spark plugs and the codes came back the same, so that's telling us that the spark plugs are not the issue.
So that means that it could be the coil, right?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to swap the coil packs and do the same test?
Yes.
All right, I'll clear the check engine codes, you swap the coils.
All right. Oh!
Stop it.
All right, so we swapped the coil packs and did the same test, and the code still came back the same. So we know it isn't the spark plugs or the coil packs that's causing the cylinder misfire.
Bummer.
Bummer!
So a black spark plug tip usually indicates that your engine is running rich in that cylinder, which means that there is too much fuel going into that cylinder. This could mean that you either have a leaking injector, it's leaking fuel when it's not supposed to be spraying, or it could mean that you have a bad O2 sensor in your exhaust. a bad O2 sensor will send bad readings of the quality of the exhaust being spit out by the engine, and that will cause your engine to misfire possibly, because it's telling the injectors to send too much fuel or too little fuel, which leads me into my next point, which is if you have a super white, corroded, kind of chalky spark plug, that could mean that that cylinder is running lean, which means there's not enough fuel. That could also be caused by a bad O2 sensor in your exhaust, or it could mean that your injector is dirty and is not spraying enough fuel. Now, the good news is that if your engine senses that there's a bad O2 sensor in your exhaust somewhere, the misfire code will almost always be accompanied by a code that has to do with a bad O2 sensor. So that one usually solves itself. However, we don't have that problem.
No, we don't.
No, his O2 sensors are just fine. So now we have to dig way deeper into what a misfire could be caused by.
So a simple way to check the fuel injectors is to put fuel cleaner in your gas tank, but make sure you run about 2 full tanks of gas with fuel cleaner in it though, because fuel injectors are really expensive, so you don't want to just be throwing that money around buying a new fuel injector if it's not what you need. So we actually already replaced the fuel injector in cylinder 3, and it didn't help. There's still a misfire in cylinder 3. And we're not gonna pull it all out and show it because it was a real pain in the ass, and we ended up breaking one of the seals and having to buy O-rings and replace it, and it was like supposed to be a 30-minute job, and it turned into like 2 or 3 hours. It was not fucking fun.
But make sure you look up your make and model of whatever car you're trying to diagnose a misfire on, if it really isn't your spark plug or your coil, because it really could be the fuel injector. It's rare, but it could be.
So now that we've done all the simple checks and it wasn't any of those, now we really got to get balls deep in this engine and see what the real fucked up thing is. One of the things that causes me concern is that my engine consumes a lot of oil, but it doesn't leak it. There's none on the ground, but it is consuming oil.
That's not good.
It's not good.
So one of the concerns that we have, the spark plugs that we showed you, the really black one, that spark plug is a couple months old. The fuel injector in cylinder 3 is also only a couple months old, and the coil on cylinder 3 is also a couple months old. Everything is brand new. And so why would that spark plug be black? Because a black spark plug like that indicates that there's unburned fuel in the cylinder.
So the 3 things an engine needs to run is fuel, spark, and compressed air. You need all 3 of those things to cause combustion in an engine.
We know we have spark,
Yes.
because the spark is new.
Yep.
We know we have fuel,
Because the fuel injector is new.
Right. What's the third component that we could be not getting in a single cylinder?
Compressed air.
Uh-oh. Now we're starting to get into the crappy part of this. I guarantee you there's air in that cylinder, because
We've
there's
got
no restrictions, and you would have misfires on all the cylinders if you didn't have air, right? If your air filter is bad, that could also cause a misfire, but we don't have that
we
problem.
don't have an airflow problem.
So we have a compression problem.
Oof! Each piston has 3 rings known as piston rings. And if these rings warp or get damaged, it can cause issues inside the cylinder. It can cause oil to come in from below the cylinder because the bottom ring is meant to keep oil out. And obviously oil is thicker than air. So if oil is being able to get in, air can squeeze through. Because that's what the top ring's job is. The top ring is to keep air in, and the bottom ring's job is to keep oil out. So if oil's getting in,
Air can definitely
air
get out.
can definitely get out. So when the piston comes up to compress the air, it's not going to compress because it has a way out. It's going to escape the same way the oil's coming in.
So all you have at that point is fuel and spark.
And there's no air.
There's not enough air to actually cause
Cause a combustion.
So that's the issue that we're chasing here. So what are we going to do now? How are we going to find out if your cylinder 3 is funked?
We're going to test the compression with a compression tester.
By doing a
A
compression test.
So the first step is to remove the coil and the spark plug from cylinder 4, because that's where we're starting. Step 2 is to remove the fuel pump relay.
Why do we do that?
So we remove the fuel pump relay so the fuel pump doesn't send any fuel to the engine so it doesn't start.
Very good.
So when you're looking at your fuse box in the engine bay and you're looking for which relay you want, you can actually look at the bottom of the cover to your fuse box and it will have a map. And as you can see right there, it says EFI, which is electronic fuel injection, which is this one right here.
A brand new Toyota Celica GT, or this engine that they put in Corollas as well, should have 180 pounds of compression in each cylinder if it is fully healthy, all right? Over time, that will degrade, and so the numbers we're looking for, because this car has over 100,000 miles, is we don't want more than a 10% difference between the pressures in all the cylinders. They're not gonna be 180, probably, and that's okay. But if one is like 110 and the rest are 170, that's way more than a 10% difference, and that means that that cylinder basically needs new piston rings. We're gonna see what happens. All right, crank it till I say stop. Stop.
Where are we at? Oh,
Not 180.
holy fuck.
Yeah.
That's like 1.
So now we press.
That's not good.
Yeah. So we're gonna press this button to release the pressure in the hose. That was one of the good cylinders. And frankly, this engine is not as hot as it could be. So those numbers would probably go up if the engine was right at operating temperature. So we're gonna give it a solid 120 to 130 on estimate. Cylinder 3, the good one.
Oh no.
Stop. Homie, you got no rings.
Fuck.
We'll calculate for a semi-cold engine, and we'll go ahead and say it was 20.
All right, stop. What's that one? 110. Or probably 1.
That's exactly where cylinder 4 was.
Yeah.
So those are the same.
All right, stop. Damn, cylinder 1 is the best compression out of all of them.
What?
It's 120.
Why does that one have a misfire?
I don't know, but see, it's 120. What the fuck?
I'm so confused.
So, we did the compression test on all the cylinders. We found out that cylinder 4 and 2 have compression about 110 PSI. Cylinder 3, the bad one, had, what was it? 0. It had 0.
Yeah.
And then cylinder 1 surprisingly had 120 PSI, which is the best out of all of them. And
I mean, yeah.
now we know that cylinder 3 is completely fucked. And it's time to get this baby an entirely new engine.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, this specific engine, this is the 1ZZ FE engine, which with about 30,000 miles, you can get one off eBay for like $1,700 bucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell them what our plans are in the future of this channel as soon as that engine is purchasable. Let them know what's going on.
So once I have the money to purchase said engine, it's probably going to be quite a few videos, but we are going to use Simon's engine crane, and we're going to rip this bitch out, and we're going to put a whole new one in there, and we're going to, make it all nice and steezy and get that.
This car is going to be so fast because the other tell that this engine had a misfire type issue going on was the fact that the exhaust sounded like a super. When you first bought the car, I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. It must have some like cool unequal length headers on there. No. The first time I crawled under, I was like, those are stock. What is going on? You know what I mean? That's another tell. Like if you have an exhaust on your car and it sounds like it's misfiring like crazy and you've done all the things that, all the simple stuff like spark plugs, coils, fuel injector, chances are you got issues, homie. And if it backfires a lot too, that's another one.
Yeah, this car does backfire a lot.
Yeah, because there's unburned fuel in cylinder 3 entering the exhaust every single rotation of the engine, it backfires a lot. This is like from 0 to 100 of how to diagnose a misfire on your engine, courtesy of Noah's fucked up Celica.
But yeah, so the next plans for this car is obviously new engine. That's the immediate new plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to get, right now I have a short ram intake. I want to actually get like a really nice cold air intake that actually has like a box around it to keep it separated. I want to get unequal length headers to get that like really nice.
The sound back.
Yeah, the sound back, but have it not be because it's fucked up. And then eventually I want to put a turbo in it. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned something useful from this. We had a lot of fun making it. If you want to see more on the Celica, make sure to subscribe because like we said, we have a lot of plans for it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it and see you guys next time.
Deuces.
Deuces.